Hey everyone, Ryan here, and in today's video, I have some negative attributes to talk about for a set that a lot of people, including myself, very much like and are very happy with generally for the summer 2022 wave, and that of course being the 75337 ATTE. By the way, this video is sponsored by Squarespace, so thank you Squarespace for sponsoring this. We'll talk a little bit more about them later and have links for them in the description below. Anyway, why do I have to bring up the bad things about the ATTE? Why can't we only talk about the good things? Because things can't get better if LEGO Star Wars doesn't realize the things they're doing wrong, which in a lot of cases in years past has been a lot of things. But this set is like moving in a direction that I think is very good, but I think it's still very unfortunately far from perfect, and even worse, I think it would have been incredibly easy to make it what I consider to be perfect. Of course, that's going to change from person to person. My view is not exactly representative of every person ever, but I feel like I have some fair points to bring up here, and I'm going to do just that. Now, before we talk about the bad with the ATTE, there's, of course, a lot of good stuff with it. It comes with 5 clone troopers. That's the most clone troopers in a LEGO Star Wars set since 2009, and I think it's literally the second most ever. So that is definitely a great thing, because in years past, we've had sets like the Clone Turbo Tank, where you get 2 battle droids and 2 clone troopers in a clone turbo tank. Where are the clone troopers? It's the clone turbo tank. So we've had a lot of sets like that where there are some nonsensical choices of figures, and I like the direction we're going here. You know, more clone troopers in big, expensive clone trooper sets is the way it should be and should have been for a long time, but as long as it continues to be the way it is now, I think that's just generally a good thing for everyone involved, right? On another positive note, I suppose for some, surprisingly, I had to do some research for this, it is the most battle droids we have had in a set since 2015. LEGO is very good at putting 2 battle droids in a set. Sometimes 1, obviously, but, you know, normally they come in pairs, and this time they included 3. So for those that want battle droids, of course, just getting 3 extras is not going to hurt you here. I like that. There's a negative attribute to the battle droids we're going to talk about later, but I thought I'd bring it up as a positive here. It's also a very good and accurate looking ATTE with tons of play functions that are returning from old versions of the set. It doesn't really push the envelope as far as playability goes. It's not something I'm personally looking for at this point in my life either anyway. I would also argue that the price at $140 is relatively fair. It's also a set based on Revenge of the Sith, which is my favorite Star Wars movie and definitely the best of the prequels. So yeah, that's also a great thing, but now we have to delve into the bad stuff. What gives, essentially, right? You have all these good things about the ATTE, and you can basically create the perfect set that everyone would love and not be able to have anyone say a bad word about it if you just do some simple stuff that really refine the set. The best thing I can equate this to is I'm in high school. I just wrote my 5-paragraph essay for English class, and it's a pretty good essay. It's going to get me a B+, A-. You know, the teacher's going to read it. Actually, I don't know how the teachers read that many essays and grade them all, but we're going to assume that the teacher actually reads it. Gives me a B+, A-. It's in that range, right? But, you know, I left something on the table there. I could have had that A+. I could have had that 110% extra credit, whatever it was that was there, and I just didn't take it. And that's what it feels like a lot with these LEGO Star Wars designers. And before we get into all the things that I think are wrong with this ATTE, I think where this probably stems from is that there isn't a person that cares that says, hey, take this back to your desk, put a little more work into this, and it's going to be amazing. You're going to get an A+. They'll take the B+, the A-, and their money, and they'll walk. That's what they do. So I have 5 things here that I think would make this ATTE perfect. If you have anything else, comment it down below, but I honestly think that these are the types of things that, they need someone there that can say, hey, these are problems with this set or that set or whatever set it is. Obviously, the ATTE is the topic of today's video, but there are plenty of other sets that could have used someone to go, hey, let's put 5 more hours of work into this, literally. So the first thing that I think, and not even I think, it is objectively inaccurate and wrong to be in the set, is the Spider Droid. The Spider Droid is actually something we've had in LEGO Star Wars quite a bit, originating in a very colorful version back in 2005. Originally, even before that, I think it was going to be tan, and then they changed it to this blue color, so that's kind of a cool piece of Star Wars history for you. Then in 2008, we got a brown one. 2013, 16, and 19, I think we got gray ones. And of course, again, here in 2022, we're getting another gray one. But this time it doesn't fit. All of the other times it actually fit. It was seen accurate to where it was from, either being Geonosis or Kashyyyk, but this is based on Utapau. Utapau has crab droids. They're all over the place in the Utapau scenes of Revenge of the Sith. How the designers missed this, I don't know. But what you'll see is the crab droids actually play a pretty big role throughout the battle, including one of my favorite clone trooper scenes in episode 3, where the one clone trooper gets on top of the crab droid and shoots down into its head to destroy it. It's a really cool scene that would have been really cool to be able to reenact, but they didn't give that to us, of course, because why have something accurate when you can have something inaccurate? That's like literally their MO at sometimes. Like, I just don't get it. Next up has to do with the Phase 2 Cody minifigure, but not specifically the actual Phase 2 Cody. It's a good-looking figure. I don't really have anything to say about that. However, he's missing a pretty key accessory, the hologram of Palpatine. And people might say, oh, but they have to make a new mold, blah, blah, blah. I know people like to rattle off a ton of excuses for Lego. There is zero excuse to not have a Palpatine hologram in this set. It's one of the iconic scenes for Commander Cody in Episode 3, where he talks to Emperor Palpatine, says, "It will be done, my lord," and says, "Blast him." And then they blast him. So obviously the set doesn't include Obi-Wan or his animal or anything, but like, having this there would have been so cool for fans, and it's like mind-boggling to me why this Palpatine hologram piece isn't included. And no, they didn't need to make a new mold that would be expensive. They have an existing mold of a Palpatine hologram piece that is still in production to this day, but it came out in 2014 with the Star Destroyer. It showed up again in the First Order Star Destroyer in 2017. It showed up again in 2019 with Darth Vader's castle, and it's also in the Harry Potter Hogwarts castle. Yet we couldn't get it in the ATTE set. Isn't that just astonishing? Now, if anything screams Lego Star Wars, it is that and exactly that. For our next topic, we're going to talk about the helmet holes on the clone troopers. With the Phase 2 Cody helmet, they obviously needed to add a visor, and back in 2013, when they released the newer styled Phase 2 helmet, they decided for whatever reason not to include any way to make attachments to the helmet, especially when it started with Captain Rex that could have used an attachment for the helmet. Nonetheless, this obviously proved to be a mistake, as they couldn't do a Phase 2 Cody without making another change to that helmet. And so I believe they left the helmet unchanged otherwise, but they literally just added in 2 holes kind of randomly wherever they needed above where they probably should have been. And so this looks fine on the Phase 2 Commander Cody because they're filled in and it just works, right? There's no problem at all for that particular figure. But the problem arises on the other 4 clone troopers in the set where the holes are not made use of at all. Of course, proponents of this will say you can customize this, blah, blah, blah. You can do fun things. You know, that's fun and all, but my thing is accuracy. You could have easily included the Phase 2 Cody helmet with the holes for Phase 2 Cody, and then the other helmets for the other clone troopers so that they don't look terrible in line with your other clone troopers. Don't have holes, because they're still producing the clone trooper helmets without holes for 501st troopers, 332nd troopers, and most recently, literally 2 months ago, 187th troopers that are going to be available alongside this ATTE for a couple years, right? So it makes no sense to have 2 different style clone trooper helmets. Like, it makes sense to have 2 different style clone trooper helmets, but you need to be selective when you use them, and they are not being selective when they use them, and I think that is bad. The Phase 2 helmets with holes being used here for clone troopers that very obviously do not need nor should have it is a major letdown to me. Almost as much of a letdown to you as the new videos on badmnrvids.com. I built badmnrvids.com using Squarespace, an easy-to-use all-in-one platform that allows you to build a website and engage with your audience. And honestly, I have had a ton of fun with this website concept for badmnrvids.com. Using Squarespace, I was able to create the website despite having no coding experience. Squarespace's easy-to-navigate system made it quick and easy to expand my website, which now includes some state-of-the-art bad haul videos. The system allowed me to share these previously unlisted videos with you using Squarespace's video tools. You can even head to the comments section of the site if you want to let me know your thoughts on how bad my old haul videos are. And trust me, there's some bad ones. They're literally vertical with black bars. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial today, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/MandRproductions to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. And again, thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring the video. Link in the description below. Let's get back to talking smack about that ATTE. So there's 2 things left that I particularly dislike about the ATTE set. Obviously, we talked about the crab droid for the droid side of things, and the 3 battle droids, while a highlight in one way, are a negative in another way. LEGO hasn't released a Super Battle Droid, I believe, since 2016. This would have been a prime opportunity to bring the Super Battle Droid back in a, albeit expensive set, but at least it's in a set. That's usually my point of view. Like, not everything can be in the cheapest possible thing. And so, no Super Battle Droid here is a huge letdown because Super Battle Droids are like big part of the Utapau scene. They're like half the battle droids that you see in the scene, right? 3 battle droids is nice, like it's a good number, but it's a bad diversity of characters. Like, we should have had a Super Battle Droid or two there, alongside maybe a Battle Droid. But yeah, unfortunate to say the least. And then finally, we have the box art. Of course, the box art is probably the least important thing of all of these things to anyone, but it's something that I find myself so intrigued by and so confused by because they continually, in my opinion, screw it up. They made this new box art for 2022. They are, in a way, copying Black Series with the color striping to match each individual property for the shows. However, for anything that's for one of the main 9 Skywalker Saga movies, they have been giving them blue stripes. So that is for both Episode 5 sets and Episode 2 sets to this point. Those are the only kind of episodical sets we've had, so they've gotten both blue stripes. And so you would assume Episode 3 sets would also get the blue stripe. But for this Episode 3 set, they gave it the Clone Wars box art with the 332nd Trooper. Now, the previous Episode 3 sets that we got in summer of 2020, where they were doing like characterized box art, so they didn't have the blue stripe, but the character was still indicative of what it belonged to. They used Darth Vader to denote Skywalker Saga. They used the 332nd Trooper, of course, to denote the Clone Wars. They didn't do anything for individual movies like they're not doing now, same thing. To be in line and consistent with what LEGO Star Wars box art is currently, it should have a blue stripe with Darth Vader. I don't understand why it doesn't have that. It would also match what they did in 2020 as far as what an Episode 3 gets for box art. It's just mind-boggling to me. It's honestly the most mind-boggling of all of the things because it's the thing that costs no money for them to get right. Like all of these other things, right? It probably costs them a little bit more money to do a Super Battle Droid than a Battle... Like all of these other things, like Crab Droid probably has more pieces than a Spider Droid. You can at least look at it and be like, it might be a money thing. They might be trying to squeeze you for every penny. But for box art, it's like literally changing a color on a screen, swapping out a character for the character that you already have on 10 other boxes. Like, it's not like a money thing. It's just a sensical thing, and they are nonsensical in that way. You know, the box art generally for LEGO Star Wars 2 has been good. I've really liked the styles that they've been doing for it, and I like a lot of the things like the side box art, but then there's times where they don't do the side box art, and then it doesn't match everything else, and there's times like they mess up the colors like we have here, and like all of these things I just hate so much because Black Series does it so well, and it looks so awesome, and we could have that with LEGO Star Wars, but we don't because they don't know how to do it, and it's so frustrating like that, you know? All it takes is one person with like an increment of like, hey, just fix this. It takes 30 seconds and like, you're good. Like, it's just, that's why it's so frustrating to me too, is how easy, especially the box art is. So yeah, it's not like, and it's not even the box art. It's the box like stripe. It's that simple, right? It's not like you have to redesign the entire thing from scratch. It's not like they put it on the wrong planet and they did a Hoth art instead of Utapau or something, right? It's like just having consistency in your lineup, and they can't even have that. So box art frustrates me. LEGO Star Wars is bad at it, even though in some ways they're good at it, obviously. But like, yeah, those are my 5 things that I think are wrong with the ATT, and that should have been fixed, and just quite frankly never will be fixed because LEGO Star Wars doesn't go back in and fix things after they're released. So that's unfortunate. Let me know if you guys think anything else is wrong with the ATT in the comment section below. Obviously, I like the set, but I wanted to make a video talking about the things that I thought were wrong with the set. Anyway, make sure you hit the like button if you enjoyed, turn on those notifications so you don't miss my review of the set as soon as I get it in hand, and you can check out more LEGO Star Wars videos on the end screen now.